So in past videos, well, on the other page that's now banned, but I have continuously talked about and reminded you guys to be sure to check your voter registration, because Republicans are doing some dirty, underhanded tactics to mess up your ability to vote in the primaries and in the presidential election or the midterms. I explained on a few occasions one of those dirty tactics that was happening here in the state of Georgia. And what's happening is that everyday citizens, me, I can go down to the voter registration office and go through the voter rolls and pick out a voter and challenge their right to vote. And now news media is finally starting to talk about it, because what are Republicans doing? What are racists doing? They are forming groups of people and sending them down to the voter registration office to do just that. They are pulling out hundreds and hundreds of people who are on the voter rolls to challenge their right to vote.
CBS News has been investigating a grassroots effort to purge voter rolls ahead of the 2024 election. People are convinced that the lie that voter fraud is what robbed Donald Trump of the presidency in 2020. Well, a large number of these folks, generally coming from the right, activists is what they are, have been sifting through registration lists and now questioning their fellow citizens' qualifications to exercise the vote. Enter this Kroger in suburban Atlanta, make a quick left, and you will find Master Barber James McWhorter holding court. They give it to him. For 20 years, McWhorter used this barbershop as his mailing address. In October, the county sent him an unusual letter. His voter status was being challenged.
I had to put on my glasses just to make sure. It said what it was saying.
McWhorter was told to respond or risk the cancellation of your voter registration.
Why would someone challenge my right to vote?
The county was not challenging McWhorter's right to vote. A citizen of DeKalb County was. Her name, Gail Lee. She filed this document alleging McWhorter had improperly registered to vote using a commercial address. Lee went to McWhorter's barbershop and took pictures to prove the point.
Had you ever met Gail Lee? No, I didn't know Mrs. Lee from a can of paint.
I think God has been leading me in this.
Gail Lee is a retiree who lives with her husband. She invited us to the back porch of her suburban DeKalb County home.
What is your feeling about who won the 2020 election?
I believe Donald Trump won the election.
Lee became convinced something was wrong with voting in Georgia. This, despite 3 recounts confirming Trump's loss. Lee started scrutinizing voter rolls.
They are voted unnecessarily.
Lee and other citizen sleuths devote hours each week to inspecting county rolls, looking for signs of what they suspect is rampant fraud, such as names that appear more than once, or data suggesting a registrant is deceased.
I am requesting that these challenges brought before you today be removed from the list of electors.
Each challenge requires a hearing to decide if the voter will be stricken from registration rolls.
How many challenges have you filed?
I think it's only about 500.
She says only because some in her citizen network have challenged far more. We found more than 80,000 challenges have been filed against Georgia voters since 2021, when the Republican-led legislature changed the law, allowing one citizen to challenge an unlimited number of voters.
Well, welcome to our weekly voter rolls working group.
This is not just happening in Georgia. CBS News obtained video of conservative activists strategizing how best to deploy voter challenges across the country.
I truly believe that there is fraud in the system, which is just it's not true.
DeKalb County Election Board Chair Carly Swift told us the challenges instead identify administrative errors and technical violations that shouldn't deprive citizens of their right to vote. Her staff has spent hundreds of hours dealing with voter challenges that she said so far tend to target the same demographic categories.
It's young voters, it's people of color, and it's people that are unhoused.
It took a toll.
In 1991, James McWhorter returned from combat duty in the Gulf and struggled with alcohol and homelessness. When he last registered to vote in 2008, he used the only address he had, the barbershop.
My friends, my family never knew I was displaced. They knew I was homeless. I would come back here after we would close, sleep here at the shop, get up an hour before we open.
10 days after McWhorter learned his voter registration had been challenged, he defended his right to vote before the election board.
I paid taxes here for 20 years, even though I was homeless.
And for the first time, faced Gail Lee.
For you to be able to challenge me, you have that right as a citizen of DeKalb County. But I served to give you that right. And it was hurtful that she would do something like that.
Have you in your mind come up with an explanation of what the motive is?
To disenfranchise a certain demographic. I'm trying to put your foot on someone else's neck.
I mean, all he had to do was call up the office and give him his address. It's not exactly a heavy foot.
After the hearing, McWhorter, who is no longer homeless, updated his address to bring it into technical compliance. Gail Lee said the system worked.
Can you understand how people who are African American might feel this deeply, personally, in that your work feels threatening to them?
I would think they would want their vote protected too, because someone who doesn't belong on the rolls would take away their vote.
Wow, this really highlights the strategy being used to try and prevent people from having their voices heard when they vote. Major, how many of these challenges have actually been successful?
So these are Georgia numbers. Our investigation found that at least 12,000 challenges were upheld. It's about 15%, but election officials tell us that those challenges are overwhelmingly clerical errors and technical violations, not evidence of widespread fraud.
Did you hear what he said? He said that Gail invited them onto the back porch. You know what my mind immediately went to when he said that? My mind said, Tabitha, that film crew had to have included a black person or black people. Yeah. Gail, in my opinion, is an old racist witch. Gail is a racist witch that has too much time on her hands. And unfortunately, there are hundreds of Gails all across the state of Georgia. But the news report said it's not just happening here in the state of Georgia. It's starting to spread to other states in the country. These racist individuals who believe that Donald Trump should have won, and because he didn't win, there's fraud within the voting and the voter registration system. So these racist Gails all across the country are now starting to come together in a grassroots movement to go through voter rolls in counties all across the nation to challenge a voter's right to exercise their right to vote. For whatever reason that they choose to give as to why they're doing this, when they said that the people that are being challenged, the voters that are being challenged, are mostly people of color, black people, yeah, you know what's the driving factor behind that. Black people shouldn't have the right to vote. They don't view black people as citizens in this country. They don't want black people to have an equal playing ground with them. They want to remain superior and black people to remain second class subservient to them. And how do we do that? We stop them from being a part of the political process. We stop them from being able to vote. This is why I tell my black people all the time, your vote is your voice. And they wouldn't be going to these extreme lengths to stop you from voting. Because if you vote, you very well could end up on an equal footing with these white supremacists. And just maybe, you might surpass them. Our ancestors knew it. That's why they fought for the right to vote. Listen, check your voter registration status often. Because, yeah, these Republicans, they are low down, dirty, racist, and they will do whatever it is to silence you.